Hey everyone, James Labrie from Dream Theater, and you're listening to or watching the podcast Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian. Enjoy this. These guys are extremely informative. I love their dialogue. I love their interpretation of the songs, who and what we are, what we were going after. They're very accurate in their interpretations and descriptions, and I just think this is a great show, and these guys are doing a stand-up stellar job. So once again, enjoy Talking into Infinity with JT and Brian.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a breaking news special edition of Talking into Infinity. Mike Portnoy is back in Dream Theater. Let's not even beat around the bush. Brian is going to be logging in here in a second, but the news just hit dreamtheater.net, the official website of the band, just a minute ago, actually. So, yeah, Portnoy is back. Wow, this is pretty crazy news, man. Obviously, people have been talking about this for years and years. A lot of fans hoping this would be the case. Wow. This was definitely kept under wraps, man, because nobody really saw this coming for sure. Pulling back the curtain just a little bit, I kind of wondered about something being potentially in the works. When I was booking the interview with Mangini, because the publicist, pulling back the curtain, was very, very adamant that we not ask a single Dream Theater question. So that's not normally the case when you do interviews like that. It's, you can ask like one question, if it veers off into, if you're doing an interview with a guy about a solo project, and it happens to veer off into the realm of the actual, the main band, it's not a problem. This time it was, no, don't ask anything Dream Theater. No, absolutely none, which was kind of like, okay, what the hell's that about? So it was very interesting. So that kind of led me to kind of question things a little bit. So, well, Brian, this is definitely the craziest thing we've had to talk about on the show ever.
Dude, you totally called this.
Well, I was just saying,
was really bizarre. Really bizarre.
Well, as I was brain, nice spelling there, buddy. Nice spelling on your name. But yeah, I was saying, the publicists, when you book an interview, they don't normally mind if it's for a solo project, they don't mind if it veers into the territory of asking a question or two about the main band. But this publicist was really like, no, whatever you do, just absolutely no Dream Theater questions. And I was kind of like, well, what the hell is up with that? So yeah, that was interesting. That being said, I mean, if, I was wondering about it, but I didn't think it would be with, less than a week from when we talked to Mike Mangini that, that's pretty crazy.
I know. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Not even a week. I was like, I don't know. I feel like you should buy a lottery ticket or something.
Right?
Not to make light of Mangini losing his drumming job, but wow.
Yeah.
The fact that you were like that dead on and it's 6 days later, I don't know.
I can't really, I don't want to take credit. Say, I knew this was happening. Because that's not the case. It was just a guess, but I mean, it just seemed weird to me.
It's really bizarre, though. Yeah.
So, Kale McLeish tuning in. He says, "Hold up, did you have the last interview with Mangini before he was officially out?" Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's really a feather in our cap. Really.
I doubt it. He's been promoting this thing nonstop. So
yeah. David Condren, good to see you, man. He says, I never saw this coming. I'm totally shocked. Disbelief. Wow. Mike Lamagna, good to see you, man. He says, the impossible happened. Yeah. Yeah, this is wow. I'm supposed to be working, put it that way. We are in the busiest part of our whole work schedule, and I'm down here podcasting. So that's
nice.
Yeah. The benefits of working from home. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. Well, let's read this press release here, because it's official on the website. And it was interesting because I was wondering about stuff, and I happened to be looking Ronino Batista says, good to see you, man. Says, shocked. This is really unexpected. What shocking news? No hints or anything from DT. Kale, I'm going to ban you from the chat if this happens. He says, Repentance might be played next tour. You shut up with that. Don't even bring it. I don't even want to hear it. Yeah, it was funny because I was actually looking up some stuff this morning, and about 5 minutes to 10, I went on the Dream Theater website. And I'd been on there earlier, and I went back to it to look for something, and the site was gone, and it was like the admin login. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then so I refreshed a few times, and all of a sudden one time I refreshed, the news release came up. For those of you guys, like, in the chat and everything, I mean, this is official. So this is crazy, man. So here we go. I mean, it's, bring this up on the screen so everybody knows that this is the real deal. This is from Dream Theater's website. Dream Theater announced the return of drummer Mike Portnoy. So there it is. This is legit. Wow. So here we go. I wonder how fans are going to react to this, man. This is pretty interesting, because so many people have talked about this for so long, but I mean,
I think it's going to be 99.999% positive. I don't think there's going to be too many. There's not going to be too many. You're like, all right, I'm done with the band. They brought back Portnoy. I don't see dude. That's absolutely not happening, because the opposite happened before when he was out. And so if anything, you're going to be getting those people back.
Wow, this is crazy, man. Yeah, there's a whole big long press release. Okay. Grammy-winning progressive music titans Dream Theater are announcing the return of drummer Mike Portnoy to the group. Portnoy will reunite with guitarist John Petrucci and bassist John Mayung. The trio formed the band at the Berklee College of Music in 1985, along with longtime members vocalist James Labrie and keyboardist Jordan Rudess. Dream Theater will be going into the studio to begin working on their 16th studio album, and the first with Portnoy since 2009's Black Clouds and Silver Linings. Ooh, statement from Mike Mangini here. I understand Dream Theater's decision to get Mike Portnoy back at this time, states Mike Mangini. As was said from day one, my place was not to fill all the roles that Mike held in the band. I was to play the drums in order to help the band carry on. My main role of keeping our live show working tightly on a nightly basis was an intense and rewarding experience. Thankfully, I got to experience playing music with these iconic musicians, as well as some fun times laced with humor. I also really enjoyed spending lots of time with the crew. And then there's the Grammy win, which was amazingly satisfying. To the fans, thank you so much for being amazing to me. I cherish the pictures I have of all of you losing your minds and having fun. Finally, I really love the band, crew, and management, and wish them and the entire organization all the best. Mike Mangini's drumming is otherworldly, and I'm extremely grateful for the time he spent with us in Dream Theater. I'm very proud of all the amazing music we made together that culminated in our first Grammy win last year, and the countless magical moments that we've shared on the stage over the past 13 years. I wish him all the best of success in his future musical endeavors, explains John Petrucci. I'm incredibly excited to welcome Mike Portnoy back into Dream Theater. As an original founding member, longtime friend, and incredibly talented and creative drummer, I know that his return will bring a renewed spirit, passion, and energy into Dream Theater that all of us, including our fans, will joyfully welcome. I can't wait to roll up our sleeves and get back into the studio together. It's great to be back true to form with our original drummer, Mike Portnoy. We started playing together as Majesty. Okay. It's all this, they all said something. Okay. Okay. There's a statement from each of the guys. All right, here's Portnoy. I am overwhelmed with joy to be returning home and reuniting with my brothers. There is so much shared history between us all, so many memories, so much music. To think we're coming up on 40 years since this journey began. The idea of creating new music together is so exciting, and I absolutely cannot wait to hit the road and get to play live for a whole new generation of fans that weren't ever able to see this lineup before. There's no place like home, exclaims Mike Portnoy. Wow. Well, and that answers the question. I was kind of wondering if they were going to go immediately go out on tour, or if they were immediately going to go out on tour, if they were going to put a record out. Looks like they're going to go into the studio, which is pretty cool. So, man.
Yeah, Chris Aiken. Well, I guess I called this one, John. Yeah, we got to give Aiken some points on that one.
Yeah, that's like I said, when that publicist was really adamant about absolutely no Dream Theater questions. Bo Van Bibber, good to see you, man. He says, I had to wonder when I saw Bumblefoot said Sons of Apollo was done last week. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff, Bo, that like kind of in the last week that came up that was really kind of telling, that kind of signaled this. So
I still don't know that those two are totally related. I mean, I could see why if he's doing this, he won't have time. But I mean, like we said, they just, tour wise, and for that band to make money was just really difficult in the today's music climate.
Yeah, I just, I had heard that Portnoy was annoyed with it because he thought it would be bigger than it would be.
Yep.
Wanted to get on bigger tours and stuff, and that's kind of like he didn't want to play bars, and that was kind of
sure,
the impetus there. Johan Alexanderson says, I think this can bring great things for the next record. Yep. Dave John, good to see you, man. He says, I missed seeing the original lineup getting into the band at a dramatic turn of events, so this is incredibly exciting. Dave, I will say this, like, I think I was Chris Aiken, interesting. He says, I'd bet anything that this deal was sealed when Portnoy toured with Petrucci. That's an interesting take, Chris, because I think that was, if I remember right, back in February. Kale, yeah, if not Liquid Tension Experiment 3. When I saw the Dream Sonic tour, Mangini looked very disengaged. So, I mean, he was not as usual, like pointing at the crowd, like getting into it, smiley self. It was really weird. It was like going through the motions in a way. It seemed like something was off with him in particular. And so I was kind of wondering, and I told you about that, Brian, and so I wonder if this was like, hey, that they knew this a while ago, just like, let's get through the tour and then we'll do an announcement afterwards or something. But
well, I wonder too, like, I think Portnoy's mellowed over the years, so it's hard for me to believe. I mean, he does have, I don't want to say a giant ego, but he's very driven. He's a very driven, focused person. So I'm just curious, did he push it all for this, or did he? I'm assuming he probably disrespected Mangini was in the band and just kind of waited to see. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to know what. Not that we're ever going to find out the real story.
They're not going to tell us. It's
yeah,
not going to happen, man.
It's not going to happen. But I mean, we can all make our assumptions and whatnot. So, Med Pink is great. Now let's do Martin Lopez back to Opeth.
Well, I was thinking, like, Aiken, can we get Paul Di'Anno back in Iron Maiden, or at the very least Blaze Bayley?
Okay.
Let's get that circle completed.
Nice. Adam Mitchell says, like Dave, I missed the original lineup as I also got into the band during the dramatic turn cycle. I saw them twice with Mangini. I must say, I personally didn't see this coming. Yeah, guys, if you have not seen Portnoy, I will say this, like, I was one of those people that never really noticed the difference too much, like, between the drumming styles. A lot of people, when Mangini first joined, were like, oh, it's so different. And I was like, come on, it's not that different. Like, they're both incredible players. But then I think it took me seeing Petrucci and Portnoy live on that solo tour to kind of really understand the difference. Even though I've been seeing Dream Theater since '99, like, it's not like I haven't seen the original lineup a ton of times. But I think having something to compare it against, Portnoy obviously is more of a front man and whatnot. That's obvious, I think, in terms of stage presence. But in terms of playing, I mean, so you guys will love that, by the way, if you've never seen Portnoy play drums live. But in terms of playing, Mike Portnoy just has more. He's got like a rock feel to him that Mangini was more of a precision player, and I'm telling you what, man, like, but Portnoy just has this slightly more rock feel. It just adds a bit of depth to things. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Kale, why the hell are you bringing up a shit band when we're talking about Dream Theater? No, we did get Creed back next year. You hate him. Yeah, no one cares. Creed sucks ass. Mike Portnoy's back. Stop that trash. Ugh. Anyway, so
here come the Blaze Bayley defenders. I don't mind his voice at all. I just don't like the albums he's on. So I have another friend that's like swears up and down by I think those same 2 albums, and I think I went back and listened to them. They're not bad, but
what is it? The X Factor, and what's the other one? The second one?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about these solo albums that he's talking about, but yeah.
Why? Mike Portnoy's back in Dream Theater. We're talking about shitty Blaze Bayley solo albums and Creed. What the fuck is wrong with you people?
So the second Blaze Bayley album has no, I just kidding.
God damn it.
Yeah, I don't. So now the game is going to be, how many of the Mangini albums are they going to basically say there's no way in hell we're playing any songs from these?
Well, that's interesting.
I'm gonna go on a limb right now. We're not gonna get anything from Dramatic Turn of Events. That's the first Mangini album.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it right now. I bet we don't get anything from that ever again.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the only ones they touch are Distance Over Time and View from the Top of the World.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Look at that. Chris Aiken. By the way, John, I'm emailing Portnoy right now. We'll see. Boy, would that be the interview to get. Holy crap.
Oh, is he going to deep dive on Blaze Bayley too? Or we just talk about the band?
Nice. Victor Asea, good to see you, man. He says, I almost passed out when I read it. Yeah, this is this is crazy, man. I personally, I'm glad that they're doing a record first. Number one, from a financial standpoint, like I got to save money. Like I'm going to, I think I'm going to do whatever I can to be at that first show. Like his first show back.
God, are you kidding? There's no way you're missing that.
Dude, well, if I don't have the money to fly somewhere, I am.
That would be great if it's like in Seattle or Sacramento or something.
I know. Look at, man, there we go. Liquid Shadows says, holy shitballs, it finally happened. Kevin Orta, I'm literally shaking. I thought the Dream Theater email I got was a scam. I wonder how many people thought that, Kevin. That's interesting. You know. Yeah, I'm glad they're doing a record first because I need to save up some money. My wife is going to throw an absolute fit. She already, every time they tour and I go, she already says, haven't you seen these guys a million times? Why you got to go see the same show? Now, not only am I going to go see it, but I'm going to buy a plane ticket and a hotel room and all this other shit.
Oh, I'm calling it now. You're minimum 3 shows on whatever the next tour is.
Well, I mean,
it'll probably be 5, but I'm guessing at least 3.
Well, I won't do that many, but I will.
Oh, dude, you're doing 3. I guarantee it.
Well, I mean,
put money on that right now.
If it's close enough, I mean, shit, dude. I mean, how many of us won't? I mean, come on. It's why wouldn't you? I personally, what do you? Bump my mic there. What do you think? I think the first show back is going to be New York City. I would not be surprised if they started off where where it all started.
Maybe not necessarily New York, but they'll get there real quick. It'll be East Coast.
Okay.
But yeah, probably in the first 2 weeks or whatever.
Look at Aiken. Since John is automatically going, I hope it debuts in Brazil or at Vakken.
Or over there in Austria, and he and Kale can hang out.
Yeah. All right, so CT Photography. You'll find on Dramatic Turns what Mike Portnoy was last contribution for Dream Theater, last great Dream Theater album, by the way. Portnoy didn't have anything to do with Dramatic Turn, actually.
No.
CT, that was the first Mangini record, and that record was all Petrucci and Rudis. So last great Dream Theater album, by the way, I would argue that the last great Dream Theater record was The Astonishing. Go ahead and fight me on that, but yeah, Johan Alexanderson, I'm completely on board with you on this one. He says if the variable set lists are back, then it's definitely worth seeing multiple shows. Well, it looks like I got to get in touch with Wayne Joyner and see what he knew or what he's working on. So, wow, man. So well, here's an interesting question. This will be like a good one for the chat here. What do you think the first song of the first show back will be? My guess is Metropolis.
Oh, wow. God, I don't know. Maybe something off of Black Clouds.
Black Clouds.
That's his last album, right?
Yeah.
So why not?
What the hell? Like open with A Nightmare to Remember?
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good.
I don't know, something like Shattered Fortress. I mean, he's crazy enough to do something like that, you know. I wouldn't put it past him.
Sean Jovi says Glass Prison. I'd be all for that.
No, honestly, that's probably, but yeah. Okay, I'll say something off of 6 Degrees. I'll call it right now. I think he's onto something there. Whether or not it's Glass Prison, I don't know, but I'll say 6 Degrees something.
Okay. Chris Aiken, are you really deep diving a set list a year away, 15 minutes into Portnoy's return? Yes, we have a whole podcast dedicated to the band. What the hell do you think we're going to do? Oh, like a 2-minute podcast, you dumbass? Oh, Portnoy's back. Okay, guys, see you later.
Yeah, we already killed 5 minutes talking about Blaze Bayley. So
exactly.
We got to fill up the rest with Dream Theater talk.
Bob Hurd, first song back, Change Your Seasons. Hell yeah, Portnoy's back. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is crazy, man. Man.
So I was talking to someone about this, and what's always funny about these situations, so we figured out it's 13, 14 years basically since he joined in the announcement. 2010, right? Is that what we said?
Mm-hmm.
So these kind of things are always funny because the first year or two, it's like, oh God, there's no way. No, there's no way. Portnoy will never come back. You hear that for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you don't hear like really anything about it. It all kind of calms down, and then you get to this point and you're like, yeah, it was probably always going to happen. I mean, it's just to sit there and think that it wasn't is, I don't know, pretty naive, I guess.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to talk about because I guess certain things, like I said, you could see that it was a potential, like, the writing was on the wall, I guess, in certain ways. I didn't see official numbers, but people were reporting that concert attendance was down and stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's going to be the question. Is this a friendship move, or is this a let's keep, let's revive the career move? I mean, is it? I mean, it could obviously it's both in some respects, but you got to wonder, like, was everything still going fine? And there's like, you know what, man, miss Mike Portnoy, and it doesn't really, the business wasn't affected. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if anything like that ever comes out. Like,
I think it was kind of like that press release. I forgot how it was worded, but I think it's something like complete the legacy. It's sort of along those lines. It's jumpstart the last part of their career, complete the legacy. I mean, none of these guys are getting any younger, so they probably figured the last 5 to 10 years that this entity is going to exist or whatever. Let's bring back, the guy who kind of was, instrumental in the whole career.
Right. David Condren, a change of drummers constitutes a change of seasons. Nice.
Oh God, here come all the puns.
I know. Bo Van Bibber, do you guys think he will have the same equal partnership, or will he end up like Lombardo or Ellefson? It's, to me, dude, I don't know where you stand, Brian, but I think it would have to be a full partner. I just don't see a guy like Portnoy coming in as a hired gun. Man,
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming Mangini was never technically part of the actual band and the royalties and all this and that. I don't know how any of that stuff works, but I'm assuming if he was, it was the smallest share humanly possible.
Yeah, I just don't see a guy like Portnoy, who started the whole damn thing, coming in and being like, yeah, I'll take like this little PP cut. Like, I just don't. I don't know. I don't see how that happens. I mean, he's got to be a full partner. You would assume. I mean, because he's gonna. I mean, if for no other reason, then he's gonna assume, writing responsibilities again, and all the fan stuff, and this, that, and the other, set lists. I mean, everything that he does for the band. I mean, you have to assume it's, he's not coming back, and John and Jordan are like, okay, Mike, well, now we run things now, so you just sit there, we'll tell you what's going on. Like, that is not, oof, I don't know, man. Percy Roble says, we'll finally have the Best of Times live. Could be. I can't say I'm overly excited for that song, but I mean, it'd be interesting because we've never seen it.
Yeah, let's leave Styx out of this. Anyway.
Aiken says it's a money move. You've told me tons of times they're playing smaller and smaller crowds. Yeah, it has gotten a little bit less as time has moved on. Yeah, I mean, I could see it being both. I just wonder that even with, the venues getting a little bit smaller, I would have to assume the band is still financially viable. I mean, they built their own HQ, for Christ's sakes, so that's got to take some amount of money that they had somewhere. So that Boy, good luck pronouncing this name. If I butcher your name, dude, I'm sorry. Josox Atlantes says it will be a pleasure to hear War Inside My Head with Portnoy's voice. Yeah, yep, hell yeah. I'll take that. Awake 2 LFG T Aaron. Nice. David Condren, this is a good one. I just hope the relationship between Labrie and Portnoy remains good. I feel that Labrie became a better frontman with Mangini behind the kit. Just my thought. Yeah, I would agree with that. David. I thought the same thing. It'll be interesting because I think if James is still doing his crazy frontman thing, I wonder if it, we'll notice it as much because Portnoy is such a frontman in and of, himself. He's such a great frontman. So, that'll be really interesting. So, I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on this? Like, what do you think this means for the future of the band? I've got a couple thoughts on this.
Well, actually, I'm going to read this press release from My Young.
Okay,
that was it.
No, he's actually in there. Oh my gosh.
That was it. There's actually nothing on there.
They just wrote it for him.
Yeah. What was your question again?
What do you think
about Labrie?
Well, no. What do you think this is? What do you think this means for the future of the band? What kind of direction do you think this takes? And where do you think they go from here?
I have an interesting. This isn't an episode, but we could do this over the next however long it takes for the album to come out. I want to try to come up with the album title.
Good luck with that.
No, seriously, each episode we throw out 5, and don't try to be stupid. Just try to come up with 5. You know what I mean? I think it'd be kind of fun. Just to see if we could come up with something close to what it would be. I have no idea right now, but I bet if we sat down and thought about it. Yeah, man. I mean, this is, it's I don't think they sat down and they just look at their accountants and go, "Oh my God, we got to get Portnoy back," because they don't really operate that way. They're too, concerned with the actual artistic expression, all this and that. But I mean, I think they just thought, you know what? Okay, we've done this thing with Mangini. It's been great, and maybe it's just time for a change. I mean, you just got to shake things up, now and then, and stuff had, Okay, go ahead.
Aiken said the album title is going to be A Disengaging Twist of Sticksmanship. Nice.
I mean, the fact that we all know Portnoy was writing the set list and he was handing Mangini drumsticks that said Mike Portnoy on them, so we probably
shut up.
Thought this was coming.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's Logan Brannigan, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, man. He says, huge news for everyone. I'm looking forward to seeing and hearing his writing and drumming in the band. Rich Wilson. Oh, it's our buddy Rich. What's up, man? Good to see you, dude. We should have had Rich on, man. In fact, Rich, if you want, I should shoot you an email real fast if you want to jump on. Rich says 100% the right decision on every level, musical and financial. That's what I'm thinking too, Rich. It's just, I mean, I love the Mangini stuff. Don't get me wrong. I've enjoyed it. I mean, a couple of them aren't my favorite records, but I think that the output, the quality never really dipped, like you see in some of these other bands where you lose a member. Let's face it. I mean, you mentioned Iron Maiden earlier. The 2 Blaze Bayley records weren't great. But for me, dude, I wonder what they're going to do in terms of the writing, because, James Labrie did that interview recently where he's like, yeah, I can't do a lot of the older stuff anymore. So he's, accommodating his, older voice for that stuff. So, I mean, and we already heard it on A View from the Top of the World where he's, kind of singing in that easier register for himself so he can nail the stuff live. And now that he's got Portnoy back to do a lot of stuff, I mean, are we going to get Portnoy actually singing more? Are we going to get, for lack of a better term, a bunch of the Cookie Monster vocals that a segment of the fan base complained about? It's gonna be interesting.
I like this one here. T. Aharon. A plot twist set in 7/8. I'm keeping track of all these. We should put them on the page. So I think it'll be fun to keep track of these and see what we come up with.
That is hilarious. All right. So I'm doing this right now. This is live, so bear with me here. All right. So Rich Wilson, if you would like to jump on, I just emailed you the link to the show. So if you'd like to jump on camera with us and give us your thoughts, Rich, feel free to click the link and it'll throw you into the green room. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to jump on. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. So, yeah, this is definitely crazy, man. I really wonder like what this is going to do to the writing. A lot of people are mentioning in the comments about the return of live harmony vocals. So that's going to be interesting to hear that. Again, I just think Portnoy brings an extra something to the writing aspect of things. How do they choose set lists now? As everybody said, are they going to do the stick to one set list thing like they've been doing, or are they going to go back to rotating? God, it would be amazing to be a fly on the wall for these discussions that they must have had to. Because it's not just like, you know what? Let's, here we go. Let's do this. I can't address this because we got a lot of people asking this. Jeff Pizzoka, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correct. He says, I just hope they didn't boot Mangini out of the band. I have to say, sorry, it's early in the morning here. I have to assume that this was a hey Mike, we really appreciate your contributions, Mike Mangini, but we're gonna bring Portnoy back. I have a very hard time thinking that Mangini would step down, because it seems to me like wouldn't he announce that? Like, wouldn't he say, hey, I'm stepping down from Dream Theater? Wouldn't they let him make that announcement on his own and say, hey, I'm leaving, and then they go, okay, well,
yes,
Yeah,
I mean this it is sort of being booted out of the band, but it's not for any other reason other than, look, we've got one of the most influential metal drummers in history, and progressive rock drummers in history, and he's formed the band, and we're just going to go back to this. So
yeah,
I mean, it is kind of being booted, but it's not like, hey, we're kicking you out of the curb because you suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and Alex Neil nails it. I mean, the opening statement, I understand Dream Theater's decision to get Mike Portnoy back at this time, which sounds quite formal and sad to me. Yeah.
I mean, this was Mangini's dream gig, other than, if he could have probably, if Rush ever decided to reform or something, which we know isn't going to happen. But
yeah. Oh, here we go. We've got Rich Wilson. All right. Sorry to throw it to you at such short notice there, man, but I saw it was like, sure, no problem. All right. So Rich is getting ready here, but yeah. So Chris Aiken, he says they booted him. Pull the curtain back, John. He did not mention Dream Theater one time during an hour-long interview. Not the name or one guy's name. He's bitter. All right. Yeah, that's very true. Very true, Chris.
yeah, I'm sure he's not happy about it, but
yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like we got to kick him out and then we'll try to figure out who we can get back,
yeah.
or who we can get to drum.
Yeah. Hey, quick, call Peter Wildoer.
Right.
All right, we got you there, Rich.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. So, man, what did you have any inkling that this was coming at all, or?
I didn't know it was coming, but it doesn't surprise me. I think you just feel it's been coming for a while, and it's completely the right decision, really.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna split the fan base again, but I think it's great.
Yeah, it was funny because just this morning I was looking at some stuff because I was thinking about this before I logged on to work, and I saw some message boards taking polls of like, what would you say if and it was literally from October 15th. It was like 8 days ago or 10 days ago, whatever it was, and I thought it would be overwhelmingly, oh my God, this is great. And there were some people that really didn't want anything to do with this. They were like, oh, I would hate it. I don't want them firing Mangini to get Portnoy back. It's like, wow, okay. I thought this would be like universally accepted.
Yeah, I think there's always been you go on the forums and things. There's always a Mangini versus Portnoy debate, isn't there? Which never tends to go away. But I think he just brings more. He just brings more to it than Mangini. Great drummer, but Dream Theater without Portnoy for me is like the Who without Keith Moon. He's like important, in terms of arranging abilities, what he brings to them live, personality. I think I don't know. It's warranted. I think musically, everything will hopefully sharpen up again, and we'll see where it goes. But it's interesting what you're saying about James there as to how things will fit in with him. But that's the only query I've got, really. But
yeah, I mean, it's with James saying that he's not able to do some of the older stuff like he used to.
Yeah,
that's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, writing wise, I mean, they already started writing around that with the latest record, but I wonder how much more vocal involvement, Portnoy is going to have. I mean, what do you guys think? That's going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think, yeah, his backing vocals are very distinctive in the same way that Chris Squire's vocals were distinctive to Yes. So that'll bring a lot to the party. I think it's just obviously James has been getting a bit of a criticism for some of his live performances, and the Dream Theater, they're never going to get rid of James LaBrie. That's just not going to happen. And I think potentially you see on forums people saying that they've stopped going to see Dream Theater because of some of the vocals live, and I think obviously they must have had an unlucky show, because some nights he's been killing it, and obviously some nights not quite so hot. But if they're not going to get rid of James LaBrie, then what do you do to sort of change things up? And then bringing Mike back's the obvious choice for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Rich. I mean, people have been clamoring for this for a while. There's a large segment, a very vocal segment of the fan base that have been, hey, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Like, but I have to admit, like, I didn't think that this is something that would ever happen. I didn't think I would ever see it. I mean, you wonder, but I just, they're just the kind of guys that are like, they're dedicated and they don't, it's, wow. This is.
Well, I think the only thing you do think is, obviously, before he left, he was in charge of a lot of things. So that, set lists and putting out, let's cover an Iron Maiden album in full, and these sort of things. And obviously very vocal in the studio in terms of arrangements. And then you kind of wonder, is he coming back more of a drummer, or will he be able to get involved in those aspects again? So it's, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that works out, because obviously things changed a lot when he left in terms of other members of the band taking on different things, and so whether, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out really on that, in terms of arrangements and controlling things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like just the technology and the consumption of music, with social media and albums and all that. It's really, since it's been 13 years, it's just nowhere near what it was. Even back then, I think album sales were still, probably at least fairly decent, nowhere near what they are now in terms of all artists. But so the $1 million question, Rich, have you already started working on the new abridged version? You've got your notepad there. Just admit it.
Right.
No,
Third edition.
I think the last one was probably 2010. So there's a lot of, there's 13 years of stuff to catch up on. So yeah, that's who knows? Maybe at some point, but that's a big job. So not yet, but
nice.
Yeah, it just popped up on, like I said, on the Facebook feed. I had no clue it was happening, but it's kind of shocking a little bit, but
yeah,
not. It's more unexpected, I suppose, in terms of timing than it actually happening at some point. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you were on it at the time we discussed it, but right off the top, I was talking about the fact that, when I interviewed Mike Mangini last week, the publicist was busy saying absolutely no Dream Theater questions. And and we were like, okay. And I was told, by my buddy Aiken, who set it up, I was like, is that normal? He says, yeah, they'll tell you that if it's like, they're working on a solo thing. And I thought, okay, that's still okay. And then, but the guy in subsequent emails was really adamant about it. Like, absolutely no Dream Theater questions. And that at that point, it was like, man, that sounds kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't you want to, cater to that fan base for your solo record? And so, and other things like, I mean, and I guess if we look at things that have happened throughout the last like 10 months or however long it's been, and even recent things, like I guess it kind of adds up, because, you know, with you know, the John Petrucci solo album and tour, you know, Bumblefoot saying Sons of Apollo's never happening again, basically. And then, you know, the thing that I got with this email and all these different things, like it's man, I guess we should have seen it coming in a way, maybe, I guess, but
you know what's comical to me is we've had all of these people from Dream Theater on here, and not one of them, other than Jordan Rudess, has talked about Dream Theater.
Yeah, that's true.
So we had James on to talk completely about his solo album, which was fine. That was great. We did a track by track. And Mangini, who talked about his 2 singles. We had Derek Sheridan on, and that was a hard no as far as we weren't allowed to talk about Dream Theater either. So maybe if somehow Aiken could hook us up with Portnoy, we could talk about Dream Theater, even though he hasn't been in the band in 13 years.
Yeah, I'm sure he's the sort of thing he'd do. But he had taken a step back from doing a lot of interviews over the last few years, just because, you know, the blabbermouths of this world would just take 3 words out of context and turn it into clickbaits, and it gets a bit tiring, that. So yeah, but it's a shame for Mike Mangini, of course, as well. He's fantastic drummer, really nice guy as well. But, you know, he probably, in the back of his mind, he was probably always felt that this might happen. So yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think for me, it reached a certain point where it got, you know, once it's past like a decade and all this, you're kind of thinking, okay, like I thought it might have been like, you know, like the, you know, apparently this is the compare everything to Blaze Bayley episode, but I mean, like Blaze Bayley, they did 2 records and it was like, no, let's get the other guy back. Same thing with Judas Priest and Ripper Owens, or like,
yeah, it reminds me of the Priest thing more, I think, because, I mean, not that Dickinson's just as iconic, but, you know, it was like sort of the guy whose dream was to ever to be in Priest, you know, and Mangini's dream was probably to be in either Rush or something like Dream Theater, you know, based on his, you know, and it's like you said, it's just at some point you gotta realize, you know, I'm just kind of keeping the seat warm, you know, no pun intended, since he's a drummer, but.
And it's kind of been edging towards this, you know, if you kind of look at the relationships, Mike and John and Jordan, obviously they've kind of got together with, well, you know, the Liquid Tension, and then John's solo album. It seems that John Mayung has always stayed fairly close to Mike. And then the only one that was outstanding was James, because obviously their falling out was probably deeper than anyone else's, but that got put to bed a few months ago. So in terms of laying the ground for it, then that was all done, you know, months ago, to at least then make it feasible. So it's quite what the decision process was as to why they decided to get Mike back in, I don't know, but it's, you know, all the signs were there, I suppose, that at least it could happen.
Yeah. So interesting fan perspective. I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on this here. Doug McCauley says, it took me a long time to get my head around Portnoy quitting. Now, all these years later, they kick out the new guy to bring back the guy who turned his back on the band and the fans. Betrayal ×2. So I wonder, I mean, so Doug, are you saying that you're not supporting the move? Is this going to be like something like you're pissed off about? Like, I mean, I don't know. I really wonder what the fan response is going to be. I mean, we talked about it for a brief second when you jumped on, Rich, but that's going to be real interesting, because there are some you know, you don't hear a lot of them, but they're out there, the Mangini loyalists and fans that are pissed off at Portnoy for leaving back in 2010.
Yeah, you can get that, and that's understandable. I think they'll bring back more fans than they'll lose. So you know, if you look at the type of venues that they play now, when Mike left, they were just on the verge of playing arenas, really, indoor arenas. So in terms of venue sizes now, they've kind of dropped down a couple of, you know, maybe a rung to sort of theatres. But I think the next tour, they'll be back up there. I think, you know, they'll need larger venues because people will come out to see Mike back with the band. So yeah, I can understand, you know, there were a lot of people hacked off with Mike when he did leave, and, you know, which is fair enough. But yeah, I think him, Portnoy, coming back into the band will make a big difference to the music and how many people go and see him live. Because, as I said before, there were people on Facebook saying that, you know, they've seen the band, they're not going to bother again, and they needed to do something to address that.
Yeah.
because it is a business at the end of the day, as well as a band of musicians. There's the business element to it, which you've probably always got to bear in mind. I'm not saying it's a cynical move at all, but I think you make better music potentially. Mike's back in the band. There's an excitement around the band, and people will probably buy the album to see what it's all about, and more people go and see them live.
Yeah,
I don't know about the whole turning his back on the fans and the band and all that. That's a little. That sort of implies that he disrespected his entire catalog and his career and all that. And I think that's a little. I think he got to a place where he wanted some time off, wanted to do these other projects, and they didn't want to do it. And it was probably just so many years of these egos colliding, and they just needed a break, And same thing with Dream Theater. They've kind of worn out this cycle of whatever, and time to reinvigorate. And why not do it with the guy that helped create this brand and this band?
I think the other thing to remember is, when Mike Portnoy was with the band, there were a lot of special things that he did for the fans, and that's what made the band special. And understandably, that stopped after he left. So things like fan club CDs, and obviously all the making of albums, which they've started re-releasing again, and just the old playing of covering an album in its entirety. That was definitely a Mike Portnoy thing. So how much of that will come back, I don't know, but at least there's potential, for a bit more looking after the fans a bit more, maybe. Probably the wrong way to put it, but you know what I mean. It's something,
definitely
make them a bit more special again.
Well, I even noticed in like the merchandise they were offering. I mean, it sounds like a stupid thing, but since he's been out of the band, like their merch store has been pretty bereft of a lot of different things. It's pretty much like, hey, here's the new tour shirt, and here's some like coffee mugs and stuff. That's whereas previously there was a pretty wide selection of things, and that really hasn't been the case. So. I mean, hey, Aiken asks a good question here. Does Portnoy seeing quote unquote the other guy get a Grammy that he never got cause him to have more want to come back because they were more industry respected without him? It's an interesting question. I mean, they were nominated but never won it, so that's
given you see what actually wins and is nominated for the Grammys half the time, I can't think that he puts a ton of stock into that. But
I don't know, man. If I mean, seriously, if you could still call yourself a Grammy winner, that's still kind of cool.
Well, no, it is cool, but you also see the stuff that's in there and wins, and you're like, okay, really? You know what I mean? I don't know.
No. I mean, you're not wrong, but it's still, it's a feather in the cap of some kind. Now the other question a lot of people are asking right now in the chat is how much of the Mangini material do you think they're going to pull out with Portnoy, or is this going to be, Kale McLeish way up in the comments? You mentioned John Frusciante with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, where he was like, when he came back, he's like, I'm not playing the stuff I wasn't on, or somebody mentioned Sammy Hagar with David Lee Roth, like he wouldn't do a lot of the Roth stuff. Like, do you think Portnoy's going to do that, or is he so fan oriented that he's like, look, those records, yeah, we can pull from those?
I think he's probably been wanting to come back to the band for at least 5 years, and I think he's more than happy to do anything to get behind that drum, get behind that kit again. That'd be my take on it.
Yeah, that's what I would think. And yeah. I just think he's so. I mean, you talked about it, Rich. Like, he's so into the whole fan experience of things that to come out there, hey, I'm back, but I'm ignoring 5 records that a lot of you guys may have liked. I just don't see that, man.
No, I don't.
Here we go. This is what I was waiting for. Wayne, good to see you, man. Dream Theater's graphic artist Wayne Joyner says the last 2 records were masterpieces in my opinion. Yeah, I'm not down with it. Okay, I wondered where you stood, Wayne, because I know we've talked a lot about Distance Over Time and View from the Top of the World. I know you're a huge fan of those. So if they were going to pull from records, I think those would be the ones they would do, because I think they're the strongest of them. So we'll have to talk offline, Wayne. That's very interesting. But yeah, I really wonder what they're going to do with the Mangini side of things.
One thing I'm noticing, we need to do more podcasts at 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. Because, we need to just make up stuff. Yeah. Like, Rich, if you can come up with any like fake headlines we do every other Wednesday.
Yeah, Derek's coming back.
Yeah, I mean,
it's the next one. They're going with 2 keyboard players. Derek Sherinian returns.
I mean, this is like off the charts for live interaction for our podcast.
Wow, that's funny. Yeah, this is definitely something huge, man. I wonder how what the timeline is like. Have they already been working on music, or were they waiting to get this out? Like, what I mean, what you're a little closer to this stuff than we are, Rich. I mean, you've actually worked as a writer. You get more stories than we do. So, I mean, do you think that's a possibility that they've already been in the studio with him?
Possibly, but I think there's a danger with that, in that if anyone sees them, then someone's going to take a photo with the phone and break the story before they have control over it. So probably not. But
right,
obviously they've got their own, place, rehearsal studio. So, and that's on Long Island, so not far from where Mike lives. So yeah, possible. But they always run the risk then of not controlling the story if things leak out. So yeah, you would think probably not.
True.
I hope they like video this whole process. That would be awesome, man. Like they did for some of the last Mangini albums. Like I would love to just see inside the studio as in depth as we can get.
Doesn't that seem like a Portnoy thing to do? I mean, doesn't this just set up for the ultimate Mike Portnoy? Hey fans, I'm back. Massive production, like the whole documentary, like professionally filmed.
Absolutely eat it up. I mean, it would be huge.
Yeah, if you can't get hold of him, we should just book a cameo with him or something and see.
Book like 100 cameos. All right, Mike. I got another question. God damn it! Stop paying for me. Just do that with him. Yeah, this is definitely going to be. Like I said, I could see that, Brian. I think that's a good bet. Like, because this is just something that Mike does, and this sets up beautifully for him to just do some huge, overblown, look, I'm back. Here's the new record. Here's all the planning for the tour and what goes into, I mean, because they've done similar things before, but, well, there you go. Chris Aiken with another one. He says, not that it means anything, but I've been dealing with Portnoy lately, and he's been, quote unquote, too busy for things the last couple weeks since he played at the Seattle Seahawks game. Rehearsing? Yeah, or
writing. Yeah.
Yep.
I think there's also, you get a huge amount of business stuff that needs to get sorted out. As well, so he's probably been dragged into a lot of that. But I think he's away at the moment, isn't he? Well, that's true, because he put something on Facebook about his dog not being so good, and I think he was away for a couple of weeks. So yeah.
And if he was rehearsing somewhere or at the studio, I mean, it's in New York, like you said, Rich. You don't live too far away. It's not like he can't run back home.
Actually, thinking about it, Mike isn't in Long Island, is he? It's John that's in Long Island. Mike's over.
Is he like Eastern Pennsylvania or something?
Yeah, Pennsylvania. I just couldn't think of the state, because I know the town is in, but I don't want to sort of drop that one. But yeah, I think he's in Pennsylvania, isn't he? So if he's away from home for 2 weeks, I suppose that he might be in the city or Long Island. So yeah, interesting.
If he's in PAs and if he's within driving distance of me, I should just jump on 90 and see if start randomly driving around.
Oh, my uncle lives in Eastern Pennsylvania. I'll just have him keep an eye out for Mike Portnoy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Uncle Tom, keep an eye out for this guy. Here's what he looks like. Not that we're stalking him or anything. This is. Well, yeah, here's back to the writing thing. MKK Lalista, he says, he needs to stop a bit. Rudis, no more Atari Attack. Please, we need that 90s feeling again. Atari Attack, I'm assuming like all like the dual solos and stuff like that. I don't know. I never had a problem with the stuff that was written after Mike. I just think it was a little more on a precision type of a level. Yeah. I mean I know, like, I don't know.
There's plenty of that stuff on the Portnoy albums too. Don't kid yourself.
Well, no, I know, but you know what I'm talking about. It's like, like I said earlier about the difference between the two drummers. It's like Portnoy just has a little bit more of a rock feel to him, and there's a little bit more of a little bit of space to breathe. I think it's not so robotic and whatnot. Like, and I hate saying robotic because it kind of sounds like I'm insulting Mangini, which I'm definitely not. But so out of this, Rich, I mean, what would you want to see from a reunited Dream Theater? Like, what would your hopes be for a new record?
Metropolis Part 3. That'd be good, wouldn't it? No, I don't know. I just think something that yeah, has the class of something like Scenes from a Memory, or I mean, Octavarium is probably an arguable one because it's probably 80% of the stuff on there is great. But yeah, I think you just want a classic Dream Theater album that's just got just less mechanical, I suppose. Again, that's the wrong word, but
Yeah.
I mean, the last two albums have been good, but you stand them up against something like Scenes from Memory, and it's just not, which one are you going to listen to more realistically? So I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I wonder about the level of aggression in some of the stuff, because I feel like, with the energy that they're going to have, like, are they going to be able to dial that back enough at times, or is there going to be really kind of like an ebullient sound to it? That might not be the right word, but very, even in the mellower moments, is it going to be kind of more in your face because of the energy created by this, and the kind of, oh, we're finally doing this again type of thing, because I could tell you that I don't know if I don't remember if the John Petrucci solo tour came over your way, Rich, but we saw it over here and they were on fire. I mean, it was, the energy coming off of that stage was, holy crap. It was, it was wow. So it'll be interesting to see if they can dial that sort of stuff back and really kind of,
I'm going to say a cross between Awake and Scenes from a Memory. That's what we're going to get.
I could see that.
Because I think those are two that are just always brought up. There's all this love for Awake, even though personally I'm not the biggest fan, but I know that Portnoy loves that album too, I believe.
Well, and another question that was posed up in the chat, but interesting to get your guys' thoughts. Like Cale and Chris Aiken were discussing, the fact that maybe this is going to be like, just do one huge album, a 2-year tour and out, break up, sell the catalog, enjoy the fruits of a successful career, whatever. I just don't see that happening. I mean, do you guys see that as something that's a possibility? I don't. I can't imagine them coming back just for one.
Well, a lot of this depends on Labrie, on how they structure these things. I don't think they have a 10-year plan or anything, but I also don't think it's like, oh, let's make one album tour and be done. That's not their plan either.
It's the worst thing being a singer in a band, because you can't control how quickly your voice deteriorates, and that's it's not like playing guitar or playing bass. You've got no real control over it, so they need to look after him, because he is the voice of Dream Theater, and whether that's a case of dropping keys in the writing or whatever, but they're obviously sticking with James, which good for them. He has been around for a long time now, but they need to look after him. So it's how they do that, maybe even live, if they sort of change things around for him, because I think that's where it's noticeable that obviously he can't hit the high notes anymore, which most singers of that sort of age can't. So it's I suppose it's what they pick to play live, and maybe if they drop it, so that he can hit the notes. I don't know, but they need to look after him, and that's that's the key to it, really.
I wonder if tracks are going to be continued, because that's another thing people were talking about is, the live harmonies will be back and stuff. But, with James not hitting those high notes, I wonder if they're going to stick with tracks and spots to kind of sweeten it with some, high melody, like way in the background, kind of have like if James is only able to do a certain level, like maybe sweeten it with that high part he used to do in the background. I wonder if maybe that is a way to cover that a little bit. I don't know.
Well, a lot of people are against it, but if you want to go and see Dream Theater and expect them to sound like like you want them to sound, then that's probably the only way you're going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, how would you feel about that, guys? Like, I mean, because obviously we know that they had some piped in vocals on the last couple tours. They were accused of that. Like, for me, I wouldn't really care. I think because the level of musicianship is so high that it's not like when people are saying, oh, Paul Stanley is, using tracks and Kiss. It's like, well, it's Kiss, dude. Like, they're playing power chords, singing songs about fucking. Like, it's with Dream Theater, you're getting so much else. I don't think it bothers me too much, because we know that the level of musicality is there, and it's just, protecting James and, to your point, Rich, like, protecting his longevity. So how would you feel if they did kind of sweeten things up with a little bit of tracks just to fill out the sound and protect James?
Well, I think so long as he's not lip syncing, no one really cares, because I'm sure they've been doing it on the last tour with, you know, some harmony vocals in the mix. Yeah, a lot of bands do that. So yeah, I can't say there's a problem with that really. But there'll be a lot of people who would disagree with that. It's not like, you know, it's not Roger Waters, is it? It's not that level of. Careful what I say here, shouldn't I? Really.
Is Roger Waters nearby?
Yeah.
No. No.
Nice.
Let's hope not. But you know, there are bands that, certainly not Roger Waters, but other bands who may lip sync to a degree on the live stuff. So yeah, there's a difference between completely miming your lead vocal and just having a little bit of harmony vocals behind. But with Mike back, would they need that? You know. So
yeah.
I don't think Portnoy would be down with too much of that. Personally, I don't care, but I don't know. Just knowing his personality and the way he kind of is about live performance, I think they're probably going to do everything to possibly avoid doing a lot of piped in vocals. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, they'll probably if they can do it without, I'm sure they will. But if they need it, then you know that will probably mean just playing to a click track, and hopefully they'll avoid it. But be interesting to see what's happening on Twitter really about all this. But
yeah, my phone's blowing up, so
mine is as well.
Yeah, I must have grabbed this right as it happened. So
yeah,
man,
so,
this
yeah.
is. I have to admit, like, you know, overall, like I'm excited about this. It's like I do feel bad for Mangini. You don't want to see somebody lose their job. But you know, again, like you know, Brian, you said it, like this kind of will rejuvenate the band and bring a new energy to it and stuff like that. And you know, and like Mike Portnoy mentioned in his portion of the press release, he said, you know, it'd be cool to get a new generation of fans to see this lineup. There were already a few people in the comments that said, you know, they discovered Dream Theater with a dramatic turn of events. So for them, this is like, you know, in a way, this is kind of like, for me, it's like, for those fans, it's kind of like my experience with Van Halen. You know, like I've always my whole life been a huge Van Halen fan, but I didn't get to see him live until Sammy was in the band. So then when Dave came back, it was like, oh, I finally got to see that, you know, that original, you know, lineup, minus Michael Anthony, obviously. But so, man, it's, yeah, it'll be interesting to see them kind of like with that new energy. And like you said, Rich, I think a lot of fans are into this because admittedly, like, I love the band, but this was a huge sticking point with me, is the kind of, they kept up with everything really well. But yeah, the fan interaction stuff that Portnoy did was, I think that was a big portion of the band's success. And not having that was, I think, the only thing that was a huge, you know, stuck out like a sore thumb kind of thing for me.
The rotating set list as well, even if it's just a little bit, because you get a lot of fans that will go and follow the band around, you know, for 4 or 5 nights. So, you know, it's nice. That's kind of appreciated and given the nod by mixing things up a bit. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I had that experience on the Systematic Chaos tour. I saw him on a Friday night and a Saturday night back to back, and you know, I was in Columbus on Friday and Cleveland on Saturday. And of the 2 set lists, there was only 2 common songs. So I basically had, you know, 5 hours or whatever the hell it was with, you know, of Dream Theater and only hearing 2 songs twice. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I always kind of think things sort of happen for a reason. And I know John thinks I'm going to say something stupid here, but I'm actually being serious.
Nice.
So if you really look at this from the outside, a guy like Mangini, who's been in a lot of great bands, he was in Extreme, he was in Annihilator, now he's been in Dream Theater. Portnoy was kind of doing the Mangini role all these years. He wasn't in Dream Theater. He's playing in like 5 different bands. You know, he was in Avenged Sevenfold for a while. Also, he filled in for Twisted Sister. And if you really look at it, that should be kind of more the role that Mangini does. And Portnoy is always sort of meant to be in Dream Theater. So it just kind of works out the way it's supposed to. The universe is weird that way, you know. Things, I think, just sort of, if you really step back and look at it, like, yeah, this is kind of what these 2 guys are, you know.
Yeah.
I just, Yeah, it feels like. God, I hate to use this because like I feel like in praising this, like I'm like downplaying Mangini's influence and the material that he put out, and I hate doing that, but this kind of does feel like coming home in a way. I mean, I hate to, it's such a cheesy cliche, but you said it, Rich, right when you jumped on. You're like, to you, Dream Theater feels like Mike Portnoy should be in the band.
Yeah.
It never quite felt right, and I guess I kind of agree.
But that's because of the fact that I've been following them since '89. So it was always there. So when he left, it was a bit of a shock. So if you're a newer fan that's come in the last 10 or 15 years, then if Mike left after one album, it doesn't mean anything to you, does it really? So
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it works out. So,
wow.
Okay, well, I'm going to head off because my phone's blowing up here. So,
there you go. You got some.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, you got to get to work on that third edition of Lifting Shadows, man.
I'll get it sorted out by the morning. It'll be fine. But yeah, all good. So,
nice.
Good to see you.
Thanks a lot for.
Yeah. All right.
Awesome. Thanks again, Rich, man. Great to see you again. Thanks.
Cheers.
See ya.
We forgot to tell him. Make sure he mentions how he talked about it on Talking Into Infinity.
Yeah.
When he does the book.
Oh my God!
So I have a very serious question for Chris Aiken. Now, if the winery dogs are done, does this mean Richie Kotzen's back in Poison? No, I'm serious.
Oh, the dominoes are falling. The dominoes are falling.
I mean, CC DeVille's got to be like probably taking a dump in his pants right now.
I know. Well, let's get some comments in here because I was trying to give Rich his time, which was awesome. But many thanks to Rich Wilson for jumping on the fly. For those of you guys who are not familiar with Rich, he's been on our show a couple times. I did a great album deep dive into Octavarium with him. We had him on to talk about his officially authorized Dream Theater biography called Lifting Shadows. If you guys are not familiar with that or have not read it, don't own a copy, you can get it pretty much anywhere you can think of. I know it's on Amazon. Go pick that up. It is a fantastic read. So many thanks to Rich for jumping on the fly. So yeah, this is man, look at this. I can't believe this is happening. Darkman24, we were talking about the vocals. He says, get some lady background singers to sing the high parts behind James singing it lower. Are you advocating for the permanent hire of Teresa Thompson to Dream Theater? There's good. Zach Smith. Also will be interesting to see how Portnoy will hash out Mangini's drum parts or what songs they even choose to play live from this era. I kind of wondered about that too, because Mangini does some kooky shit, man. And as fast as Portnoy is, I mean, Mangini's got the fastest hands in the world.
Well,
so
remember on View from Top of the World, he said he purposely changed these parts around and played a bunch of stuff different and backwards, so it would be really difficult for other drummers to play.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, this is man, oh man. Yeah, Zach said Portnoy has said he isn't as technical as Mangini and doesn't play drums like that. Whew, man. Bo Van Bibber, when I was talking about that, I must have got it right off the rip. He says, I think you beat Blabbermouth. Who knows? Who knows?
So I wonder when do you think this was first talked about? Like the day the last tour is over? Do they wait a week and they all get on a conference call minus Mangini and probably minus Portnoy originally? I'm just curious. I'm like, I would love to get just the true story, just verbatim. Like, how did this go down? I'm just interested.
Well, for me, again, Mike Mangini did not look like himself to me when I saw him in Kentucky on July 9th on the Dream Sonic tour. And so I wonder if this was talked about before. And then, they said, let's just get through this tour. I mean, I don't know how that would work, but I mean, I would assume it's like, hey, collect your paycheck. Let's go. Man, oh man. I don't know.
And I don't care about it from a TMZ drama standpoint. I'm just curiously interested.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, this dude said this, and he, what I mean? Because these guys are all adults at this point, I think, and it's, you're not talking about, I don't know, a band that's selling 12 million album, a year and filling 50,000 seaters.
Yep. Look, we got an angry face emoji from Abraham Wrangle. Either he doesn't like the content or he doesn't want Mike Portnoy back in the band. If you don't like the content, we apologize. That's all we got. We got faces for radio. Yeah, dude. God, that's such a good question. Like I said, we're never going to get the total truth, but Doug McCauley. It's like the end of the movie Fanboys. What if the movie sucks? He says, question: what if the new album with Portnoy sucks? LOL, shocker. I know, but possible. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't know if this is such a long limb or a flimsy limb. I really like the last two records, especially Distance Over Time. So I think that I think that the writing relationship between Petrucci and Rudess has gotten to a point now where, you know, and The Astonishing as well, I should say. I love The Astonishing. I'm a huge fan of that record. I think that their writing relationship has gotten to a point where it's so strong that when you do it, just do what they're doing the last couple of records, but then you throw Portnoy into the mix as a third writer, I don't see how that can be anything but kick ass. I mean, what do you think, Brian?
Yeah, suck is a really strong word. It's going to be interesting because there are going to be people, and this is no matter what your favorite band is, there's going to be people that this could be the greatest thing that anyone's ever heard. And you could get 15,000 people going, this is terrible, bring back Mangini. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
people are driven so often by their own emotions and what they think something should sound like and what, you know what I mean? And interesting comment from Aiken there. It's not going to suck. If anything, Portnoy upgraded his game with Sons of Apollo. Yeah, you know what? I agree with that. I also think that last Petrucci album, and we've given it a pretty decent run, but man, that is one of the greatest melodic guitar rock. Just, I mean, there was nothing lost in it, seeing it live or hearing it through your headphones. Like, it was just a great experience, and that's very, very hard to do. And I think Mike Portnoy is 35 to 40% to not to blame, but to get the credit for that. You know what I mean? That, like you said, that chemistry, that there's sort of an urgency and an immediacy of the riffs bouncing off the guitar when Portnoy's playing the drums with them. And maybe some of that was lost initially. I thought they started to bring that back on the last two albums, which you make a great point. We keep going back to Distance Over Time. Kind of brought that feel back, you know?
Yeah.
And, I mean, to say it's going to suck, that's pretty, I don't know.
Wow. Hybrid 8253 calling me out. He says, now you're talking nonsense about The Astonishing. No one should publicly admit to liking that album. Nice. Yeah, sorry, man. I love it, man. Take my fan credit if you want. But yeah, Kale McLeish and Hybrid has just been booted from the chat. Nice. Yeah, dude, I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. The chemistry and the power of that show. I mean, we both talked about it that night. We were like, wow, dude. It was definitely easy to see. It was definitely on display. It was like I said earlier, I mean, that was when I finally got it, quote unquote. I was like, okay, I understand the difference between Portnoy and Mangini now. And it was just, man, oh man. Fish, he says, I've been out of the loop. What actually happened with Mangini? Did he step aside or was he fired? They're not saying, but if you go on the Dream Theater website, the official press release is there, and Mangini does say, I understand the band's decision to get Mike Portnoy back in the band. So it sounds like they replaced Mangini with Portnoy. So, yeah. So, goddamn, dude, this is crazy. Kale McLeish wants to know. He says, do you think he'll have the Siamese Monster kit again live? That's an interesting question, Kale, because I think first of all, he downsizes for the other bands because he doesn't need all that stuff. But I also think that he downsized on a few of it because he was kind of the front man. So you had to see him more. Whereas with the Siamese Monster, like, he does his front man thing because he's Portnoy, but he was one part of the whole. So that'll be interesting to see what he, Hybrid being banned from the chat is a show joke. So you're good. You're good. The only way to get banned from the chat truly on this show is to say that you love repentance, and even then, that's a question. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see, Brian, if he's going to bring back that huge Siamese monster, or if he's going to go with the "hey, look at me," like tone it down so he can interact a little with the fans more type of kid.
Yeah, I'll say who cares. I just want to see Mike Mangini up there.
Mike Portnoy, you mean?
Oh yeah, Mike Portnoy. Sorry, the two mics.
Brian is officially against this move.
Yeah, I like that. Aiken had another great comment. I guess Chance LeBrie officially never gets the Wolfie VH treatment in TT.
Nice.
Yeah, I doubt they ever seriously looked at him. I mean, that would if there was no Portnoy, then or he flat out refused, then that would probably be pretty cool. Interesting to see him do something like that. But
yeah, for sure. Philip Z, he says, this is basically a repeat of Rudis replacing Sherinian. Funny how history repeats. I had that thought too. I was like, this is kind of similar to that. So
I'd say no, because Sherinian was never a founding member or anything. This is way different than that.
Well, I'll give you different, but I'm not going to say way different. This was, hey, the band, we want to upgrade. So here we go. So
from that standpoint, yes. But
man, a lot of people are championing the 12-step suite in the chat. Everyone wants to hear that. Do you think you could do the 12-step suite and just like have like a record skip sound effect go through the arena when Repentance comes up and just bump to the next song? Like, oh, make it all funny, but not actually have to have Repentance in there?
I don't think we're going to get that. I think that's too self-indulgent on his part, and I don't think he wants to come in here and just blast that all through everyone. I think he wants to be more collaborative than that.
Yeah, I all joking about Repentance aside and whatnot in the 12-step suite, what I could see happening. I think at least on the first tour or the first run, I don't think they'll do it, but I think that that Portnoy being back in the band totally brings that into play. Like if they were to do like an evening with type of a situation where like the first set is regular set, and then the second set of the show is just the 12-step suite, I could see them doing something like that because Portnoy never got to do it. And they've tried to do all that crazy fan stuff, like doing records in their entirety and whatnot. So now that Portnoy's back, why not do the 12-step suite? I mean, we can tell from the chat that I think a lot of people would be into that idea. So Little Fur JC, I have the same question. He says, will the Cookie Monster vocals come back? Yeah, that's, I wonder about that, first of all, because that was getting to be a bigger part of the sound on the last couple of records with Portnoy. But it's interesting because I think Portnoy's done a lot more singing on his recent stuff. So it's like he's a stronger vocalist. So are they going to employ that more? I'm going to be fascinated to see how they use him in the writing. That to me is the biggest question, the thing I'm most interested to see.
Well, I'd love to know like what's if you put the truth serum to Mike Portnoy, okay, and let's forget the early albums. Like what are his honest 100% true thoughts on the last two records? Like what does he think? Does he think, yeah, this sounds like Dream Theater should sound in 23 or when the album was out, 2020, 21, whatever, when they came out? And what is his vision of now? Like this to me is what Dream Theater needs to sound like. You can never get inside someone's brain, but I'd be fascinated to know what he thinks they should sound like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, again, great point. I mean, is he sitting down going, I like this, I don't like this, I enjoy this, I mean, it doesn't sound too different from what they were doing with him, but still he might say, hey, I liked where you guys did this. I liked where you did this. Like,
right.
Again, the writing relationship between, John Petrucci and Jordan Rudess has definitely progressed. So where is that going from here? Where does Portnoy fit in? I just think it can be nothing but good news, man. Because if you're going to take material like Distance Over Time, View from the Top of the World, and I'm sorry guys, but The Astonishing, and you're going to throw Mike Portnoy in there into that mix as a third writer, I don't see how that can be anything but good.
Yeah, I mean, I think you keep bringing it up too. That I think the vocals are going to be the thing that takes the most I don't say reshaping, but maybe just the way they think about vocals in general, and how do him and James, work together, and how does that process all play out?
Right. Look at Aiken. Is this a show or a show meeting where you're discussing the next 30 episodes worth of show topics?
I know we probably should have cut this at 5 minutes.
I know. I was thinking it, but then we got a bunch of people tuned in, so I was like, "Yeah, let's get people's thoughts." And then I saw Rich. I was like, "Let's get him on." So, but yeah, we'll cut it off here. But God damn, yeah. Thanks to all you guys in the chat. If you haven't tuned in before, this is what we do. We bullshit live, and we bring your comments up on the screen so that you can take part in the show and have your voice heard. So, appreciate you guys all tuning in. Man, crazy. So Mike Portnoy is officially back in Dream Theater. This is gonna, be a lot of speculation going over the next few months. I wonder if they're gonna, leak out little teasers and things like that. And I kind of think, Kale, don't ask that question. I already have to come up with a great excuse, Kale. So don't ask. Yeah, this is like the nerd in me, and I'm sorry to reference Star Wars, but back when they did the prequels, like when the internet was in its infancy, and like they would do little video log episodes while they were making the movies. So like, and they're on the bonus features of the DVD releases of episodes 1, 2, and 3. But it was pretty cool because like every few weeks you'd get like this little like 3, 4, 5 minute long little thing of behind the scenes of hey, here's the lightsabers we're making and shit like that. Like it'd be cool if they kind of did that with this, some studio logs or something. Just have it, do it in little pieces as they go. I think that'd be cool. I like your idea of a documentary, Brian. I think 100% that's going to happen. So I think it'd be cool if they did it along the way. So I definitely that'd be my choice. So but yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Brian, thanks for jumping on. I know you're so busy and you're semi-retirement over there, but but yeah, we for those of you guys who are not familiar with the show very much, we actually go live every other Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So our next show is going to be next Thursday. And the date on that is going to be November 2nd. So if you want to tune into the show again, we do off Dream Theater shows. So we talk about other musical stuff besides Dream Theater. Actually, next Thursday is a show I'm very excited for. We're going to have legendary guitar writer Steven Rosen on the show to do an interview about a fantastic Eddie Van Halen book he's written called Tone Chaser. So that'll be next Thursday night, November 2nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have an Instagram page, Facebook page, all that good stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, click the subscribe button, smash the notification bell, all those fun social media things you're supposed to do. Yeah. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I know it's a weird hour. Brian, thanks for jumping on. And yeah. Wow. I guess the end of the show that my closing statement now is more apropos than ever. So we'll see you next time, guys, and enjoy a great day of Dream Theater news and speculation. As always, Carpe Diem.